since the outbreak of COVID-19, we have seen many government and central banks around the world implemented fiscal and monetary policy measures to try to help the economy and also the population. I think in Brunei's case, it's no exception. And that's why we are doing everything we can to try to support the Ministry of Health in their combat against this virus. And we are doing more than what we think we need is adequate for them to combat this virus. So that last week, we make an announcement about our investment in this artificial intelligence system so that we can monitor the hotspots of this virus in the country and also to make prediction about the potential cases that we will foresee in the coming days, months, so that our medical team can better equip themselves and better manage their medical resources to take on this challenge. Yesterday, we also heard about the building of a new isolation center. This will be done hopefully within 2 to 3 weeks. Again, in order to provide the country with enough medical facilities, equipment for the benefit and the welfare of the population. I know there have been a lot of questions being asked about how much we have spent on test kit and so on. But I think overall, maybe I can share with you that up to this stage, we have spent tens of millions of dollars to prepare the Ministry of Health to combat this crisis. But I'm sure this is not the end of it. There will be more that we need to spend. In addition to the health of the population, we are also very concerned about the health of our economy and the job securities of our people. And this is an area that we have been working very hard to ensure that we do our best to protect the jobs of our workers and so that our economy and our private sectors continue to thrive. That is why in the first 10 days of Brunei identifying the first COVID-19 case, the government, through the Ministry of Finance and Economy, announced the first set of monetary policy measures to try to help our private sector, especially the MSMEs in the tourism sector. 2 days later, which is exactly a week ago, we announced another set of fiscal policies measures. The same thing, we are trying to help our private sector to protect the jobs for our workers and for the well-being of the population. There are many measures that we have introduced, including deferment of TAP payment, SCP payment for 6 months, and many other measures that probably I do not need to repeat here. But after all this introduction of fiscal and monetary policy measures, there are still many questions in public. There are questions about the other sectors which are not in tourism. When we try to help our businesses, we must always remember we are managing government's fund, and we need to be responsible in the way we manage government's fund. To help the companies that are affected by COVID-19, we really need to make sure that the fund goes to the companies that really in need of help, not a blanket distribution of fund to anybody. So when we try to help many of these companies who are suffering from this COVID-19, we don't have information about many of these companies because, unfortunately, in Brunei, not many companies file their annual returns. We are not able to tell how they're going to be affected. And how could we be more targeted in our effort to help the SMEs? So companies need to provide and submit their annual returns to ROCBN on time. So in crises like this, we will be able to know which are the companies that really need help and which companies probably do not need help or less help. So there are also questions about measures that they were undertaken by other countries. I think recently we have heard about Singapore, another round of new measures. Yesterday we heard about Malaysian government announcing their measures. And before that, we heard about what UK government has done and also US government. But we must all understand that the fund they set aside in many other countries to help their businesses, to help their people, came from the taxpayers themselves. The money that they are able to put up to help the businesses came from the taxes that businesses, individuals pay to the government. And during crisis, some of these funds can be put to better use to help the businesses. We have heard what the Chancellor of Exchequer in the United Kingdom said a few days ago. When they put up these measures to help to approve the fund to help the businesses, he said the people need to pay. The people need to pay this. So higher taxes will be imposed potentially to raise the money to fund all this assistance. But in the case of Brunei, people don't pay income tax. People don't pay property tax. People don't pay sales tax. And not many corporations pay corporate tax. We have 9,000 over companies. And only a few hundred, a small number of companies pay corporate tax. And many of these companies do not even file their annual return. While they do not pay taxes, the government subsidizes their electricity, their water, their petrol, and many other things. On top of all this, we subsidize rice and sugar. We subsidize their health care, education of their children. Every year, this costs the government hundreds of millions of dollars. So we must understand that all along, even before this COVID-19 crisis, the government has already been helping the businesses to reduce their cost of doing business. When they turn on their lights in the office, it's subsidized by the government. When they drive to work, they have been subsidized by the government. So I think it's not quite right for many people to say the government has not helped them. Even during normal times, the government has already been helping them. And this is quite different from what other countries. So we must appreciate what the government has done. not just for the businesses, but for all individuals also. Despite all this, despite what I said about the government have always been helping the businesses and individuals, the government during this crisis is still willing to help. So the announcement last week on the 19th and 21st of March are exactly what we are doing to try to continue to help the businesses and the people, and to try to protect the jobs, and at the same time to find ways to create more jobs. And we must also remember that every dollar that we spend today is the future generation's money that we are using. So the more we use, the more we deprive the future generations of the money that they could have to build a better future for them. And that's why the government needs to be very careful. It's not just money to be given away like that. We have to be very targeted in the way we try to help. So it's not that the government do not want to help. The government want to help the businesses and the individuals, but it has to be for the people who need it.